All right, welcome back. Thank you. And without further ado, let me introduce Mr. Thang Luong from Google DeepMind and co-founder of NTI. He will give an opening talk.
All right. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm not going to talk of technical details, though. I think Jeff, Quark, DET have talked a lot of technical details. So I'm more on the side. I'm going to tell you some story, some journey through math and AI, through which I hope to connect the main subject that we talked during the panel, which is superhuman reasoning. So my math journey started with a legend who glorified Vietnam 45 years ago. I'm guessing people might know who that is. Dr. Lê Bá Khánh Trinh. So he's my high school teacher. So during high school, I did a full-time math Olympiad. I almost got to the IMO. So I was ranked number 8. I got the silver, not only nationally, but didn't get to the top. But I was so passionate about Olympiad math. And Dr. Lê Bá Khánh Trinh, he's the one in 1979, 45 years ago in London. He solved problem number 3, which is a hard problem in geometry. And his solution is much more elegant than the organizer solution. Because of that, he got a special prize. I can also give you a little bit of like what is this problem about. So there are two circles, they intersect at point A. And then you have 2 points like M1 and M2. They travel at the same velocity. So the question is there a particular point, a fixed point, that at any point in time, it always have equal distance to M1 and M2? And he has a nice solution. And this is the solution that got him the special prize. The story was, I didn't get to the IMO, so I was sad. So I switched to AI. And then I continued AI for 20 years. I didn't do math much. I did like deep learning for translation with Quark. I learned a lot from Quark, Ida and Oreo. I have interned at Google. So I defend my thesis. I work on deep learning neural machine translation. And also then I work at Google Brain. So this is the picture of my favorite. I always show this picture to a lot of people. So, so this is a US holiday. I don't know why all of 3 of us are in the office that day. I don't know. There must be a reason. I was single. I don't know. Fast forward 7 years later, just a few days ago, we're on Da Nang. So welcome, Jeff, to Vietnam. Great to be you here. And we took the picture again. I think we have aged, I guess. So back to neural machine translation. So the improvement was astonishing. So whatever gain we got during that 2 years, 2014 to 16, it's like equal to like 20 years before. That was just amazing how deep learning has progressed. And fast forward to 2018 and 20, I co-created Project Mina this is a blog post I wrote with Daniel, who was like from YouTube, that I mentor him, and then he go to Google Brain, founded Charter AI, now back to Google again under Jeff. Jeff think that it was a difficult task for ML, the conversation task. And I think at that time, we did a great job, I think. We were probably number 1 chatbot in the world. If we had released that, then probably there's no code red for Google 2 years later. And at that time, actually, Mina can tell jokes, you know. We're just like doing some random talk. Like we ask, like, I like cows, and say, I heard they go to college. And then we ask, like, cow go to college. I heard a cow went to Harvard. And then we asked for, like, what did the cow study? It said, like, bovine sciences. And then do horses go to Harvard? It said, horses go to Harvard. So it was just an amazing conversation. To today's standard, I think it's just a simple conversation, but it was an amazing joke at that time, just only 4 years ago. And even fast forward more, I'll talk more. But I think I want to say here, actually, like, I want to present a viewpoint that I think we are moving from imitation to discovery test. And this is a picture by GenAI. So I think we are in GenAI conference, so I thought maybe I can ask a query. And I actually got this nice picture. Superman thinking about superhuman reasoning. So I think perfect, match the topics. Back to imitation to discovery test. I think probably how many people here heard about Turing test? So about half, I guess. So maybe I can explain. So Alan Turing, probably father of AI, most people probably know about that. In 1950, he came up with the test for AI, which they call an imitation test. So you have here an interrogator. I'm sorry. Well, it's like a judge, right? He didn't know what behind him. There's a wall behind him that two could be, like, one is a machine and one is a human. So if when the judge talks to the machine and the human, and then he cannot tell which one is the machine, which one is the judge, is a human, then that AI or that computer already passed the Turing test. And I think for a while, like when we're doing Mina chatbot, I think we all passionate about passing the Turing test. I think that was some of the drive that we have been going through. But I think with the recent pace of like ChatGPT, GenAI, my belief is we probably close to passing or maybe have passed the imitation of Turing test error. And I think we're actually moving to welcome to the new era, the era of discovery, math test. So this is an article from the New York Times on alpha geometry, where the new challenge for AI is the math Olympiads. And but why math now? Can anyone guess? Because you can be quite rich. So there's a prize if you get an AI fully open source and then can win a gold medal at the IMO, then you can get like $10 million. But joke aside, I think for me, I think math is actually something very fundamental. So if you can do math well, it actually really means that you can really think through many, many steps. We do see the big picture. We can connect all the reasoning together. And it's also important because just a minor mistake can eventually lead to a wrong answer. So I think if we can do math very well, I think that is actually a part that leads to superhuman reasoning. And for me, superhuman reasoning is a prerequisite for AGI, I would say. Just one example of superhuman reasoning, in my belief, is alpha geometry, which we published just this year, January, with Trill, Tony, Quark, her, and myself. So at that time, solving, like generative AI, large language model, can solve problem very well. It can do like a lot of basic math, but when you talk about Olympiad math, it's really hard because there's just tiny amount of data. There are not many examples that it can learn. So this work, the inspiration is there a way we can generate a lot of data synthetically, and we can solve Olympiad geometry without any human demonstration at all? So there are two key ideas. Idea number one is the neurosymbolic system. I think Kwok have mentioned that to you. So it's a system one and system two. So there are two parts here. Like system one is the neural language model, very creative. But it's actually not reliable because it can hallucinate. And then we need to couple it with a system two, a symbolic engine, which is more reliable. And in the case of alpha geometry, if you have a hard problem, the symbolic engine, if it can't solve it, it will ask the neural language model to suggest some points and lines. As if you do like when you were in high school or secondary school, if you try to solve geometry problems, if you get stuck, you might need to add new points and lines, and it will help connect many other details, and then you can solve it. The second idea is the synthetic data generation at scale. So we were also quite inspired by human process. So human, when we learn geometry, we often take a piece of paper and a pen. We try to draw different diagrams, and we learn different properties about these different diagrams. So this is like a knowledge building process similar to humans. And alpha geometry actually for the problem in the year 2015, it can solve two geometry problems perfectly. So actually equivalent to getting the bronze medal. But as Kwok said, right, like at every year in IMO, there's either one geometry problem or two geometry problems. So because we did so well at for geometry, so then like this year there's only one geometry problem, which caused problem to a lot of teams because there's harder problem for other categories. So if you look at here, this is one example of how alpha geometry solved the problem, like 109 steps. It's a super long proof. It does a few things like, at step 26, it knows that like there's a few points on the same circle. So if you know math, these are like the all-less circle or the 9-point circle, very famous. But to a computer, it didn't quite understand. It just solved these problems. But it can actually use very basic rule to solve it, just like secondary school. So last year, December, I went back to my high school for Thom Nang Q, and I showed the solution to my high school teacher, Dr. Lê Bá Khánh Trinh there. So he looked at the solution. He actually quite impressed, but actually not satisfying. He thinks that the solution actually lacks some soul. So whenever he looked at his soul problem, he really wanted to see the big picture. He wanted to make sure everything connects. He wanted an elegant proof. This is something that we haven't been able to do it yet. We're only able to solve a problem, a hard problem, but we're not able yet to find an elegant solution, the beautiful solution. So I think this can also be something that in the future, or actually maybe this year or something like that, people can further improve on. And this is the solution that Dr. Trinh Lê gave to me. So he handwritten the solution. He's using something more advanced called inverse geometry. And it only took him like 20 steps. So fast forward 6 months later, in July 2024, I think Kwok already told you, we have new alpha geometry 2, which can solve this problem in 19 seconds. Basically, you just blink of an eye, maybe a long blink of an eye, and it finishes the solution. So the problem actually asking us to prove that the two blue angles sum together into 180 degrees. And the red colors is the point E, is what alpha geometry suggested as an additional point to draw. So it suggested to connect the line BI with the circle around L and then get the point E. So when we first had this solution, our experts look at the solution. They don't quite understand why it does that, because there's a different way that you can do the extra points. For example, you can like connect some of the lines here, you get a new point. That is more natural to human. So they don't quite understand at first, but then after looking carefully at the solution, actually everything connects together. It creates a few similar triangles that actually eventually make purpose for the point L. So I felt like this is not quite, but close to like, move 37 of AlphaGo, where it actually creates something that actually not intuitive to human at first, but turns out to be a quite nice thing. And we got silver medalist level at the IMO 24th, Alpha Geometry 2 and Alpha Proof. I'm not going to the detail of this one, but I want to say a few things. Through that process, that's intense 6 months, from January to July, we really built a superhuman reasoning team at Google. So this is a photos in the New York Times last month, and this is on day 1 of the IMO 24th. So we woke up at 5 a.m., everyone, Kwok, me, everyone into the room 5 a.m. to get the problem and start solving it. We make quite some progress. I can't share more, but we make quite some good progress. I think it was an amazing effort, and with a lot of help from a lot of people across Google. an intense 6 months of work. But I want to make a quick transition here. So I want to ask a question, what does it mean for Vietnam? So maybe let's do some simple counting. January 224th, we have 3 Vietnamese. This is on the New York Times for Alpha Geometry, so Trio, Quark, and myself, in front of Google latest building, where you would find Jeff, Quark there, me, myself there. What's that? Gradient canopy. That's it. So 6 months later, we have a few Vietnamese here. Can anyone guess how many Vietnamese are there? 5, 6, 3, same 3. So 5, 6, and 3. So let's see, they're incorrect. They're actually 4, so there are 4 Vietnamese. There's one more person hiding somewhere there, Hoang Nguyen, that he's an intern under my team. So I'm actually really proud of, of course I'm proud of the whole team, but also I'm also passionate about empowering Vietnamese. When I see Vietnamese students succeed, I'm also very happy. And I think Vietnamese students love maths. I think math is in their DNA, perhaps. They love maths, yeah. So I think they can do well. They did very well normally at the Math Olympiad. And I think they will do well in AI if they given the right environment, which is what I want. I have been doing for New Turing Institute, formerly with AI, 5 years ago. I don't teach myself, but I actually try to coach other people to do the teaching. So they do all the teaching on the ground before COVID, and then online after COVID, and it connect different experts, different Vietnamese experts across the world. So you see in today's lunch, some of you might have seen, like we have people from different Silicon Valley companies. So I really hope that there are more Vietnamese who work on superhuman reasoning. Well, welcome to our teams. And with that, I want to close it up. So I think my main viewpoint is we should move beyond the imitation Turing test. We should go toward discovery math test, because I think that's really pushed us hard because when we try to solve very hard problem, we think beyond the existing techniques. For example, like a lot of people, when they benchmark existing large language model, they only focus on getting the right answer, the final answer correctly. But that actually might give you the wrong reasoning. The model can just say random things and eventually say, oh, this is the answer. So I want to go beyond that, which is why I work on IMO problems. These are really hard. You have to get the whole reasoning trace correctly. And I even hope that as we develop techniques, general techniques that can solve these hard math problems, we can then go beyond. It can concur other subjects like physics, etc. And also it can help us to solve new unsolved problems, Millennium Prize problems. It's like a new calculator for us to explore science, understand the universe. And we can go from math to superhuman reasoning and AGI. So with that, I'm done with my talk. Thank you.